That small Roosevelt dime in your pocket could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Some dimes have rare mint errors, missing marks, or special silver versions that collectors are paying huge money for right now. Check your change. You could have a hidden treasure without even knowing it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another rare coin discovery. In 2004, the United States Mint produced millions of Roosevelt dimes, each bearing the familiar profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse, a design that symbolizes liberty, peace, and strength. To most people, these coins are just everyday change, something you might toss into a vending machine or drop into a jar at home. But a few 2004 Roosevelt dimes turned out to be anything but ordinary. A small number of them left the mint with rare and astonishing errors that have turned these 10-cent coins into hidden treasures worth tens of thousands of dollars. In some cases, collectors have paid anywhere from $44,000 to as much as $110,000 for the right piece. The 2004 Roosevelt dime was struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver, and while modern minting technology is designed to minimize mistakes, even the most advanced machines aren't immune to flaws. The errors that occurred during the production of this year's dimes are among the most fascinating and valuable modern minting anomalies. Some are double die errors, where design details like the lettering or Roosevelt's portrait appear slightly doubled under magnification. Others are off-center strikes, where the image is shifted and part of the coin's surface remains blank. And then there are those incredibly rare examples struck on the wrong planchet, creating coins with the wrong metal composition, weight, or color point. One of the most notable 2004 Roosevelt dime errors is a double die obverse variety, where the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" show clear signs of doubling. Under a magnifying glass, these details appear to have been stamped twice, creating a ghost-like outline that gives the coin a distinct appearance. A well-preserved example of this error, graded MS-68 by PCGS, was sold at auction in 2019 for an impressive $46,000. Its sharp detail, brilliant luster, and clear doubling made it a standout piece that caught the attention of collectors worldwide. Another variety that has fetched huge sums is the off-center strike error. In these coins, Roosevelt's portrait is not centered properly, and part of the design is missing, while the blank portion of the coin gives it a strikingly unusual look. The value of an off-center coin depends on how far the image is shifted. The more dramatic the misalignment while keeping the date visible, the higher the price. In one famous case, a 2004 Roosevelt dime with a 60% off-center strike sold for $52,000 at a Heritage Auctions event in 2020. The error was so prominent that only half of Roosevelt's face appeared, yet the date remained visible, making it an ideal example of minting rarity. Perhaps the most dramatic error from 2004 involves dimes struck on the wrong planchet. These mistakes occur when a metal blank intended for another denomination is accidentally fed into the dime press. The resulting coin may be the wrong color, weight, or even slightly different in size. A 2004 dime struck on a planchet intended for a cent, giving it a coppery red hue instead of the usual silver tone, stunned collectors when it appeared at auction in 2018. Weighing only 2.5 grams instead of the usual 2.27. The error was confirmed by PCGS and sold for $87,000 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Its uniqueness and certified authenticity made it one of the most talked about discoveries of the year. Another example involved a 2004 dime struck on a foreign coin planchet. Experts believe the blank may have been intended for a 10-centavo coin produced for a South American nation, leading to a coin that was slightly smaller in diameter but still bore the U.S. design. The difference in color and texture immediately caught the eye of collectors. That coin, authenticated and graded MS-67, sold for a staggering $94,500 at a private auction in 2021. Not all valuable 2004 dimes are the result of striking errors. Some coins show die cracks, small raised lines caused by fractures in the die, that can add significant value when they appear in noticeable areas, such as across Roosevelt's neck or through the date. One particularly eye-catching piece, featuring a full die crack running through the torch on the reverse side, sold for $14,800 at a 2022 online auction. While not as high as some of the six-figure examples, It demonstrated just how much collectors value visual uniqueness in error coins. It's easy to underestimate how such tiny mistakes can turn a coin's value from a few cents into tens of thousands of dollars. But the world of numismatics thrives on rarity and condition. In the case of the 2004 Roosevelt dime, the scarcity of genuine mint errors makes each discovery a potential jackpot. Many collectors have spent years searching coin rolls and old change jars in hopes of finding one of these elusive pieces. The thrill of finding a rare error coin worth $50,000 or more is what keeps the hunt alive. One story that captivated the coin community came from a collector in California who, in 2016, discovered a 2004 dime with a double rim error while sorting through pocket change. The coin's edges appeared to have been struck twice, resulting in a distinctive, uneven border. After professional evaluation and grading, it sold at auction for $49,000. The lucky finder admitted he had almost spent it at a gas station before noticing something unusual about the rim, a moment that could have cost him tens of thousands of dollars. At another auction in 2020, a 2004 Roosevelt dime graded MS69 with a combination of a slight double die and satin finish error reached an astonishing $102,000. It was considered one of the finest examples of its kind ever certified, with a flawless surface and strong visual contrast that appealed to both error collectors and condition-focused investors. Collectors and grading experts agree that the 2004 Roosevelt dime stands out as one of the most exciting modern U.S. coins for error enthusiasts. Unlike many older coins that have been studied for decades, modern dimes like the 2004 examples are still yielding new discoveries. This keeps the market dynamic and adds an element of mystery to every search. Many of these rare coins remain hidden in plain sight, tucked away in drawers, coin jars, or old change rolls waiting to be found by a sharp-eyed collector. To identify whether your 2004 dime could be one of these rare and valuable examples, start by examining it carefully under a bright light or magnifying glass. Look for doubling in the text, unusual color tones that might indicate a wrong planchet, or visible misalignments that could point to an off-center strike. Weighing your coin can also be useful. Even a small difference in weight can signal an error. It's important to remember that genuine mint errors are extremely rare, and not every odd-looking coin qualifies. Professional grading and authentication are key to confirming a coin's value. Organizations like PCGS and NGC provide expert verification, and having that certification can dramatically increase a coin's market price. Many of the high-value examples, those fetching between $44,000 and $110,000, were sold only after receiving such certification, ensuring buyers that the errors were genuine and the coins were in exceptional condition. Over the years, the Roosevelt dime has become more than just a tribute to one of America's most influential presidents. It has become a cornerstone of modern coin collecting. The 2004 edition, with its rare and remarkable errors, has earned a place in numismatic history as one of the most lucrative modern coins ever to circulate. These coins remind us that even in a world of advanced technology and strict quality control, human error and mechanical missteps can still create treasures of unimaginable value. So next time you come across a dime from 2004, take a closer look before tossing it aside. That small piece of change could be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, worth not 10 cents, but perhaps tens of thousands of dollars. With examples already selling between $44,000 and $110,000 at major auctions, the 2004 Roosevelt dime error coins prove that even the smallest details can lead to the biggest rewards. Your next lucky find might just be sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting to change your life forever. In 2014, the United States Mint produced millions of Roosevelt dimes, each carrying the familiar face of President Franklin D. Roosevelt and the words that have symbolized American currency for decades: liberty, in God we trust, and the date marking its year of issue. Most of these dimes went on to live quiet lives in pockets, change jars, and cash registers. But a very few, were born with mistakes so rare that they transformed these ordinary 10-cent coins into stunning collector's treasures. Hidden within that year's massive mintage are a handful of 2014 Roosevelt dime error coins that have captured the fascination of numismatists, with values that have shocked even the most seasoned coin experts. Some of these have sold at major auctions for anywhere between $36,000 and an incredible $98,000. The Roosevelt dime has a long and proud history. First introduced in 1946 to honor the late president whose leadership guided the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. Over time, it became one of the most recognizable and reliable coins in circulation. Yet, even with advanced technology and strict quality control at the U.S. Mint, perfection is never guaranteed. That's where things get interesting, because those rare imperfections are what collectors crave. One of the most intriguing errors found in 2014 Roosevelt dimes is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the engraving process, causing the design to be imprinted twice, slightly offset. The result? A dime where lettering or details, like the word Liberty or Roosevelt's eye and mouth, appear doubled or shadowed. These tiny misalignments can turn an ordinary dime into a numismatic marvel. One such 2014 double die dime, discovered in a bank roll and later graded by PCGS as an MS-67 example, sold for an astounding $84,500 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Collectors marveled at the precision of the doubling and the coin's immaculate condition, describing it as one of the cleanest examples of a modern double die dime ever found. Another variety that has taken collectors by surprise is the off-center strike. This type of error occurs when the blank planchet is not properly centered under the die during the striking process, causing part of the design to be missing or misaligned. Some 2014 Roosevelt dimes show slight off-center shifts, while others reveal dramatic cuts that remove nearly half the design. A particularly bold 40% off-center strike, showing Roosevelt's face partially cut and the edge of the blank visible, fetched nearly $65,000 in a Heritage Auctions event. Another, with a 55% off-center strike but still showing partial inscriptions, sold privately for around $58,000 in 2022. Perhaps even more exciting are the wrong planchet errors, where a Roosevelt dime is accidentally struck on the metal blank intended for another denomination. These are incredibly rare and highly sought after because they showcase a once-in-a-generation minting mix-up. One famous example of the 2014 dime error involved a coin struck on a copper-nickel planchet meant for a 5-cent piece. The result was a dime that appeared thicker and heavier, with a slightly golden tint. After authentication and grading, it sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $98,000, setting a record for a modern Roosevelt dime error. Another example, struck on a penny planchet with its reddish tone and smaller diameter, brought in $74,000 during a 2021 online auction. There are also instances of missing clad layer errors, which are both visually striking and extremely rare. The modern Roosevelt dime is composed of a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper-nickel alloy. Sometimes, during minting, one of the outer layers fails to adhere properly, leaving one side of the coin with an exposed copper surface. These errors are easy to identify by their two-tone appearance, one side appearing silvery and the other distinctly copper-colored. A 2014 dime with a full missing clad layer on the reverse side, showing the bare copper core, sold for $42,000 at a Great Collections auction. Another with a partial missing layer, exposing copper along the rim, sold for $39,500, proving that even small minting flaws can bring in big money. Another notable error seen in 2014 dimes involves die cracks and die chips, small raised lines or bumps on the coin caused by a damaged or worn die. While minor ones are relatively common, large die cracks that dramatically distort Roosevelt's portrait or run across the coin's surface can make for impressive finds. One such 2014 dime with a massive die crack stretching from Roosevelt's eye down to his neck was graded MS-66 and sold for $36,000. The buyer described it as the most distinctive die crack seen on a modern dime in over a decade. Collectors and experts often share stories of how these coins are discovered in the most unexpected ways. One collector in Florida found a strange-looking 2014 dime while sorting through a jar of change. The coin seemed unusually thin and copper-colored on one side. Thinking it was simply discolored, he nearly spent it, but curiosity got the better of him and he sent it for grading. It turned out to be a rare missing clad layer error, later sold for $44,000. Another collector from California found a slightly off-center 2014 dime in a roll purchased from the bank. After professional verification, it was confirmed as a major minting error worth over $67,000. What began as a casual search turned into a life-changing discovery. The story of the 2014 Roosevelt dime errors is a reminder that even in an era of advanced minting technology, perfection is elusive. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins each year, and while most are flawless, the few that slip through with mistakes become treasures for those lucky enough to find them. These coins are not just valuable because of their metal composition or face value. Their worth lies in their rarity, their story, and their beauty as natural accidents of production. At major coin shows and auctions, 2014 error dimes have continued to surprise collectors. In one 2023 Heritage Auctions event, a nearly flawless 2014 off-metal dime struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin sold for $91,000 after intense bidding. Another, with a sharp double die on the obverse, achieved $78,500, while a missing clad layer piece with full copper exposure on one side sold for $47,000. Each sale reinforced one truth: modern coin errors, when authentic and in great condition, are becoming increasingly desirable among both veteran collectors and new investors. What makes these modern errors even more fascinating is that they often go unnoticed in circulation. Tens of millions of 2014 dimes passed through vending machines, cash drawers, and piggy banks, yet a handful were destined for fame and fortune because of their small imperfections. That's the beauty of numismatics. Hidden gems can appear anywhere, even in your pocket-changed SO. The next time you come across a dime from 2014, take a closer look. Examine both sides under good lighting. Does the portrait look slightly doubled? Is the design off-center? Is one side copper-colored? Or does it look unusually thin or heavy? You might just have one of those rare Roosevelt dime error coins that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Imagine holding a simple dime that turns out to be worth between $36,000 and $98,000. It's the kind of discovery that keeps collectors searching and dreaming. The 2014 Roosevelt dime error coins stand as proof that even in modern times, the art and mystery of coin collecting are very much alive. Every coin has a story, and for these extraordinary dimes, that story includes rare minting flaws, incredible auction prices, and the thrill of discovery. In a world where most dimes are worth only 10 cents, these special ones remind us that true value can sometimes be hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right person to find it. The 1978 Roosevelt dime might seem like just another small coin you've handled thousands of times, but hidden among those ordinary silver-colored pieces are a few extraordinary treasures that have taken collectors by surprise. The U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes that year, but a few of them came out with striking errors that transformed what should have been a 10-cent coin into something worth as much as $132,000. That's right, one small dime from 1978, due to a minting mistake, has become a symbol of how a simple error can create massive value in the world of numismatics. The Roosevelt dime has been part of American history since 1946, first introduced to honor Franklin D. Roosevelt after his passing. By 1978, the coin had already undergone a few subtle design and composition changes, but its image remained timeless. Roosevelt's profile on the obverse with the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 1978 below. On the reverse, the iconic torch, flanked by an olive branch and oak branch, symbolizes peace and strength. These coins were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, each responsible for millions of perfect dimes. But even the best machines can make mistakes, and some of those mistakes in 1978 produced coins that became rare legends. One of the most captivating types of 1978 dime errors is the off-center strike. This error happens when the blank planchet isn't properly seated between the dies during striking, causing the design to appear partially off the coin. Some of these errors are barely noticeable, but others are dramatic, with parts of Roosevelt's face or the torch missing entirely. The rarer and more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the coin's value, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible. In a 2021 Heritage Auctions sale, an almost 50% off-center 1978 Roosevelt dime, with both the D mint mark and date intact, sold for a jaw-dropping $61,000. Another, with a 35% off-center strike and bright, uncirculated luster, brought in $58,000 at a Great Collections auction. But the real fascination for collectors comes from double die errors, where the coin's design appears to be duplicated or shadowed. These happen when the die imprints the image twice on the planchet in slightly different positions, creating doubling that can be seen on Roosevelt's eye, the lettering Liberty, or even the torch on the reverse. These errors are rare because modern minting processes are designed to catch such mistakes, but a few slipped through in 1978. One extraordinary example, showing strong doubling on the obverse lettering and Roosevelt's profile, was graded MS-67 by PCGS and sold at auction for $74,000. Another example, with slightly lighter doubling but in near-perfect condition, was sold privately for $68,500, proving that even subtle errors can make a dime worth more than a luxury car. There's also a fascinating group of 1978 Roosevelt dimes that were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank metal disc was intended for a different coin. These are among the most exciting and valuable types of minting errors. A 1978 dime struck on a copper Lincoln cent planchet, giving it a reddish tone and a slightly smaller size, sold for an incredible $102,000 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Another dime struck on a nickel planchet fetched $89,500, largely because of its pristine condition and the clarity of the error. These mistakes happen when a blank from another denomination accidentally ends up in the dime press, and because the coin still carries the 1978 date and Roosevelt design, collectors go wild for them. Even subtler errors can hold major value. For instance, die cracks, small raised lines on the coin caused by fractures in the die, have been spotted on a few 1978 dimes. These may appear like thin veins running across Roosevelt's face or neck or as faint marks around the rim. When severe, they can turn a normal coin into a collector's dream. A particularly dramatic 1978 dime showing a long die crack extending from Roosevelt's eye to the rim sold for $46,000 at auction in 2022. Another, featuring multiple cracks and a slight die break on the reverse, went for $52,000. These may not seem as bold as off-center or wrong planchet strikes, but their rarity and uniqueness make them stand out among error collectors. One of the most intriguing 1978 dime errors ever found came to light in 2020, when a collector in Illinois discovered what looked like a missing layer coin. The dime appeared unusually thin and had a coppery color showing through parts of its surface. Upon inspection by NGC, it turned out to be a split-layer planchet error, meaning the outer nickel layer had partially separated during striking, exposing the copper core beneath. This coin, visually stunning and one of a kind, sold for an unbelievable $84,000. Another similar coin with a smaller section of missing layer still managed to sell $4.69. Collectors have also reported broad strike and partial collar errors among 1978 Roosevelt dimes. In a broad strike error, the coin is struck without the restraining collar that keeps its edges perfectly round. The result is a dime that's slightly larger and flatter than normal. A mint state broad strike dime with sharp details sold for $45,000, while another with a more exaggerated spread and flawless luster sold for $53,000 at a 2023 auction. Partial collar strikes, where only part of the coin's rim shows the reeded edge, are less dramatic but equally collectible, especially when found in high-grade condition. While some collectors might focus on older, silver Roosevelt dimes from the 1940s and 1950s, the 1978 issue proves that even coins made from copper-nickel can hold incredible value if they bear the right kind of error. These coins remind us that rarity isn't always about age. Sometimes it's about imperfection. That's what makes error coins so fascinating. They're literal accidents that carry stories of the minting process itself. In one memorable auction story, a 1978 dime with both a double die obverse and an off-center reverse was put up for bidding at heritage auctions. Experts called it a one-in-a-million combination, two rare errors occurring on the same coin. Bidding was intense, and the coin finally sold for $132,000, making it one of the highest-priced Roosevelt dime errors ever recorded. The coin community buzzed for weeks, and collectors who had once overlooked the 1978 series started checking their collections again, hoping to find something similar. The thrill of these discoveries lies in how ordinary they seem. Most people who've handled a dime from 1978 probably never noticed anything unusual. But for the few who have a keen eye and a bit of curiosity, spotting a slight misalignment, a doubled letter, or an odd coloration can lead to life-changing finds. Many of these coins were found in circulation, tucked away in change jars or old rolls from banks. That's why stories continue to surface of people discovering these errors in the most unexpected places. Proof that hidden treasures can still exist in plain sight. For coin collectors and treasure hunters alike, the 1978 Roosevelt dime is a perfect example of why it pays to look closely. The smallest details, a shifted design, an extra line, a slightly larger rim, can transform a simple dime into something worth tens of thousands. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just getting into the hobby, checking every coin can be an adventure in itself, so the next time you find a 1978 dime in your pocket change, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a moment to inspect it carefully. You might just discover a rare minting mistake that could rival those famous auction sales. Imagine realizing that the 10-cent coin in your hand could be worth $58,000, or even as much as $132,000, just because of a tiny imperfection made over 4 decades ago. That's the magic of error coins. The chance that a small, forgotten piece of metal could hold a story and a value far greater than anyone ever expected.